Hi everyone, this is Mark from Abilities, and today I'm going to be showing you how I transfer in and out of bed. Now before we get to the transfer, I just want to talk about, historically what I remember, when I first learned transferring from rehab. So in the hospital, I remember that my therapists and nurses, they would do what was called a quad pivot to be able to get me into bed. And if you recall, or maybe you don't know, with the quad pivot, I'll lock my brakes here. What they used to do is they would teach my mom and my dad how to do it. Is you basically get the person's legs out, straight ahead. You would pinch them together. The person would come towards me and put their legs on the outside edges of mine. They would put a gait belt around me, tighten it. The person standing over me would grab the gait belt. They would pull on it and shift my weight over onto them. So that way when they pulled with it, and they kept my legs centered like this, they would be able to pull on the strap, shift my weight to them, and pivot the body over onto my body over onto the bed. And it was really cool, because when you see that, and you see someone small like my mom do it, it makes sense. The shifting of the weight allows them to do it without hurting themselves, and it was really cool seeing that. And I thought, okay, how can I apply that to the transfer that I'm going to be doing? And so I do a little bit of that when I transfer, but I just wanted to show you beforehand, because I think that the foot placement is very important. Shifting of weight is going to be very important. And I'll show you as I do the transfer. Alright, so let's start with the transfer. When I'm getting into my bed, the first thing that I do is I like to get my chair as close as possible to the mattress. Now I'm going to turn my chair about a 45-degree angle and snug it up there really nice and tight. After I do that, I'm going to take my legs down and I'm going to lock my brakes. Brakes are very important. You want to make sure that these are working really well. Because I don't have triceps, I have a little bit of a flicker in this arm, but because I can't push up like this, I push more to the side. And because of that, my chair would like to slide. Now, you can't break your wheels from the floor necessarily, and that's why I have this thick carpet. It won't, the chair won't move as much. But you still need to make sure you have these brakes, otherwise when you push off, the wheel will roll away. You don't want that happening when you do a transfer, so do yourself a favor, make sure that you have tight brakes. Okay, once my legs are down, I like to make sure that they're about, 3 or 4 inches apart, going out straight. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my left side bar down here, lean on my elbow, put my hand on the bed. I'm going to scoot my butt forward a little bit because I'm way back in this chair, and my chair has a significant bucket in it, meaning it's at an angle. So if I were to try to transfer uphill, it would really hurt my shoulders. So I make a point to scoot out as much as I can on the front of the chair. Now, my legs are actually pointing towards the bed, and what I want to try and do is move them out of that position. Can't quite do that, but I try to move them out a little bit, so that way I can move my body over and kind of pivot this way. Now, you'll see me lick my palms, and that's just to get a little bit of traction. I think most quads have learned to do this, and it's really helpful. If you don't have gloves on, it's something that I like to do, but if you're worried about bacteria and all those things, which I don't anymore, then I suggest just wearing the gloves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to get my butt up and get my arm backwards. I'm turning it this way, and I'm putting it in, and I'm locking my arm in this side. And that way I can kind of control my transfer with this arm. So I will push off, and I'm going to do this in a couple steps. So I'm just going to go to the edge here of my chair and reposition my arms. Now I've got this hand on the middle of my chair, this one on the bed. I'm going to do the same thing. Kind of locking my elbows and push off, transfer over. I'm not quite on the bed, I'm on it, but I want to go one more time. So I'll go one more, do the same thing, just like that. Now, one key thing to take from this is that depending on your balance, so I've learned to have pretty decent balance in the bed and in my chair. But another thing that you can do, which I think is works well, talking about quad pivot, balance is really an important thing, and people get concerned about that, and maybe are hesitant to do a transfer because of it. If you want to have someone help you, just have them put their hand on your forehead. It doesn't need to necessarily be on your chest because that's too close to your arms. But just have them put their hand on your forehead. And that way when you're leaning, you actually don't have to worry about falling. You'll just have that hand there. Now this is actually helpful when you're in a tight place. So if you're in an unfamiliar environment and you're transferring, one of the things I recommend, especially if it's like a toilet or something like that, find a side that you can transfer on where you have a wall nearby. Because if you can lean yourself up against it, that buys you time in order to move your body and reposition your arms, which can be very helpful. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the chair. I'm just pretty much going to do the reverse. But for me, again, I'm going to be positioning my legs best I can. So they're kind of headed out this way, but not quite turning towards the chair because I want to, like I said, pivot my body over. I'm going to lift my palms again, scoot out. So now I'm kind of on the edge of the chair, part on the bed, part on the chair. But the nice thing is this allows me to reposition my feet. Clonus there. So now what I can do, get my hands steady, and then pivot. And again, this is slow and controlled, and that's really what you want. You don't want to have to. I know a lot of people when they do their transfer, they like to do it in one shot and flop their body over, and that's great. But you have to make sure that you execute. And that, to me, having done this for so many years, I would prefer to have the slow and controlled environment. Okay, well, that's the transfer. And one of the other things I want to mention is, it's something that took me many years to perfect. And take all the little baby steps. Think about what I said about the environment, understanding your body, getting to know your chair. Use the sliding board, use the gloves, get your situation worked out with the bed if you can, if you have the resources. This is the best place to do it, and this is the best place to perfect it. So, hopefully this video helps, and thank you for taking the time to watch. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Abilities channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'll be posting more videos soon. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them. And thanks for watching. Keep working hard. Thanks.